Is CM Punk set to sue All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan? But first, will Cody Rhodes or The Rock main event WrestleMania? This past Friday night, Dwayne The Rock Johnson would make a cameo appearance on Friday Night SmackDown, this after being in town to appear on the Pat McAfee show. During the appearance earlier in the day, Rocky would reveal that a match between himself and Roman Reigns was locked in for WrestleMania 39 earlier this year, although this wouldn't come to fruition after final details were unable to be nailed down. With that said, he added that WrestleMania 40 next year is a possibility. This led to many questions from WWE fans as to how this could affect next year's show, with the future of Cody Rhodes being one of the topics of debate. Of course, the entire narrative surrounding the American Nightmare's WWE return has been to finish the story and win the big one in WWE, something his family have been unable to do up until this point. The man himself has also clarified that he wouldn't consider winning the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship as finishing the story compared to winning the undisputed Universal title held by Roman Reigns. With all that said, we now have a fresh report coming from Boozer Wrestling, aka BWE on X, who revealed that despite the comments from Johnson, no agreement is in place and WWE's priority is still to give Rhodes his crowning moment, and they would write, Cody Rhodes is WWE's priority at the moment. There's no agreement over anything other than another meeting to discuss options for a story with regards to The Rock. Next up, CM Punk has made his return to television. The Second City Saint hasn't been seen on screens since the AEW All in London event on August 27, with him since having his All Elite Wrestling contract terminated following a series of alleged backstage incidents at the show. With that said, CM Punk would return to commentary duties this past Saturday night for Cage Fury Fighting Championships, who held their latest MMA event, CFFC 125, live from Newtown, North Dakota. On the night, there would be several wrestling references that have gotten fans talking. First, when his co-host, John Morgan, joked about running into Punk backstage prior to the show, before noting that he is back with Cause, a reference to AEW terminating his contract with Cause. Punk would later state that he has 2 months of free time coming up, not only implying that he has something planned going forward, potentially a wrestling return, but this also suggests that he is bound by a non-compete clause following his release. During the show, Punk would also make a Cody Rhodes reference when wondering what do you want to talk about, a line often used to open promos by the American Nightmare, and perhaps another tease or troll regarding a WWE return. As for the 2-month timeline, it's worth remembering that WWE are holding Survivor Series in Punk's hometown of Chicago in November, which could be the ideal place for a comeback to the promotion were it to ever happen, but I guess only time will tell. And next up, a former AEW champion is visiting WWE. Reports would emerge last week that former TBS champion Jade Cargill was set to leave AEW at the end of her current deal, with her expected to sign with WWE in the near future. We now have an update on the situation via PW Insider, who will reveal that AEW's longest reigning champion in history is currently in Orlando, this following reports that she'll be heading to the WWE Performance Center this week. And the update reads, PWInsider.com has confirmed that the former AEW star Jade Cargill is currently in Orlando, Florida for WWE. We are told she is not currently slated to appear live on tomorrow's WWE NXT. Fightful Select would also confirm an update today that reveals that the jump has been anticipated for a number of months, and they would write, some within WWE had heard of interest back in July, and several associated with her teased that big moves could be coming, though they didn't outright say what those moves would be. There were several people close to her that were being coy about her future plans, not outright mentioning WWE. However, higher-ups in AEW were aware of the plans to jump to WWE. Fightful would also clarify that Cargill was treated well following her final appearance for the company, with her receiving a nice ovation when she got backstage, with it being noted that it was important AEW gave her an appropriate send-off. Dave Meltzer has taken to Wrestling Observer Radio to discuss Jade's future as well as the potential contract with WWE, noting that the money she will be on is good for a newcomer, and he would say, she'll get a focal push because the money to take to get her, you have to give her a chance to get over because they're not paying what they would pay a normal person to start there. It's not like it's Charlotte Flair money or anything like that, or Becky Lynch money, but for a newcomer to the company, it's much higher than they usually go, so she's got a good deal. Dave would then discuss whether Cargill will be on NXT or the main roster, with him getting the impression from his sources that she will be heading straight to Raw or SmackDown, and he would add, "I got the impression it was main roster just because of the expenses of bringing her in. They could put her in NXT for a little while before bringing her to the main roster. In a sense, that would make sense, but then you've got to justify the money. I could see them putting her in NXT for a short period of time, but my impression is the creative they were talking about was not NXT creative." As for a final note, Jade Cargill has now officially been removed from the All Elite Wrestling website roster page, further confirming that her time with the company is over. And next, a former WWE World Champion is returning to AEW. In early August, Rob Van Dam would make his All Elite Wrestling debut before unsuccessfully challenging then FTW champion Jack Perry, although he hasn't been seen since. Well, in this past Saturday's episode of AEW Collision, it was confirmed that the whole effing show will be present next weekend in his home state of Michigan, this when Collision goes to Grand Rapids. It remains unclear what role Van Dam will take on the show, whether it be a speaking segment or perhaps even a match. The announcement follows a recent claim that WWE was unhappy with him appearing in AEW despite giving him permission to do so, so it remains to be seen what his relationship is with the Stanford-based company going forward, with him at one time advertised for a WWE-related signing during WrestleMania week in April. Next up, we have the latest on the mass WWE releases. This past Friday, news would drop throughout the day concerning multiple releases from WWE following the merger with UFC, with several redundancies taking place due to an overlay of departments, whether it be financial, marketing, or others. According to a report from PW Insider, more than 100 people were let go over the course of this Friday, something that has affected the morale behind the scenes at the WWE offices, and the report notes, "It was an extremely rough Friday for everyone working at WWE this past week, with 100 plus employees let go as part of cost cutting and redundancies after the Endeavor takeover. To say that morale among WWE employees has been decimated would be an understatement. How could it not, given the circumstances?" PW Insider would add that the feeling within the company is that this wouldn't have happened under Stephanie McMahon's watch, who is said to have worked hard to build morale and build pride amongst staff prior to her departure earlier this year. With that said, we do know that the staff cuts are now complete after this was confirmed in an email sent out by Nick Khan to employees that remain with the company, although reports have claimed that cuts will be coming to both rosters of NXT and the main roster in the near future. Next up, we have an update regarding the WWE return of Roman Reigns. Undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns last graced a squared circle in the main event of SummerSlam in August, defeating his cousin Jey Uso in a tribal combat match, successfully defending his two titles and solidifying his stature as the tribal chief. Recent speculation has circulated regarding Reigns' condition following a possible injury sustained during that hard-hitting bout, with us now having an official update from WWE regarding his return to television. In a recent development, it's been confirmed that Roman Reigns will be part of the show for SmackDown on October 27 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with the head of the table being advertised in the list of superstars that will appear. The announcement comes on the heels of a report that suggested Roman Reigns is gearing up for a bout at Crown Jewel on November 4th, with Dave Meltzer reporting in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Roman's next title defense will take place at the Saudi show and that he will appear on television in the lead up to the event. And next is CM Punk, set to sue All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan. As discussed earlier in the video, CM Punk now finds himself on the free agency market following the termination of his AEW contract with Cause. This after he was involved in a series of backstage incidents at the AEW All in London show. During the on-screen announcement from Tony Khan regarding his decision, the AEW president would claim that he felt his life was in danger during one of these incidents, with this as well as his concern for the safety of staff being the reason for letting his top draw go. The termination and the fear of life claim has led to some fans wondering if legal action could be imminent from Punk's side, whether it be for wrongful termination or perhaps even libel regarding Khan's shock claim, with some even feeling that TK's experience was dramatized as part of a potential legal defense. With that said, according to Chicago-based journalist Nick Hausman, who has many sources close to Punk, there is no plan for litigation on his side, and Nick would take to House of Wrestling to write, "I did learn that Punk does not have any litigation pending against Tony Khan following his termination. Considering Khan said his life was in danger during Punk's backstage altercation at AEW All in London, many people asked me whether Punk could be considering action, and I'm told that is not the case. Punk is looking to avoid any further litigation and move on with his life. He was described to me as someone breathing a sigh of relief now that he is away from the day-to-day drama that seemed to follow him at AEW. We have not been able to gather whether any pending legal action on AEW or Tony Khan's behalf towards Punk is pending, but things do seem quiet between the two sides." Whilst the story claims that Punk is not suing due to wanting to be free of drama, it could also be the case that the termination was justified, meaning he wouldn't have much of a case in the first place, although we'll likely never know exactly what happened that day. But remember, there is footage from Wembley Stadium. Either way, no matter what side you stand on this situation, the news of no further litigation will come as a relief, as it appears we're at the end of this whole mess, as a legal case would be something that would take years to conclude. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 facts that MJF doesn't want you to know.